Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. Matt Langan, if you can make sure to mute everyone else, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Hey, Barry, full disclosure, I don't have my mask.
Okay. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and get into this. So the purpose of today's Zoom, and of course, we've got agents from Swell Realty, our sister company, as well as Swell Real Estate. So Julie Butler, she's on here. She's going to be helping me. But the purpose of this is to try to, as best we could, go through some of these NAR changes and how RAIN is implementing them, and then sort of how we are approaching them as well. So what we're going to do, Julie's going to kind of go through a list of items, and then once we get towards the end, we'll have a question and answer session. Okay, so that's probably better than us talking about it and then being interrupted, if you will, with questions. So we're going to save all questions till the end of the session. Okay, the other thing that I'd like to say, and in a very humble manner, is this Zoom is not intended to debate policy. Okay, so if there's a really serious question about how things are going to be implemented, then you need to reach out to me or to Julie offline, and we can discuss it in a different venue. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Julie, if you want to take it away.
Yep. All right, guys. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. I know a lot of you have been anxiously awaiting some more information about how to move forward with this. So the first thing I want to say, and some of you may know this already, but obviously there's not going to be any field on our listings on the MLS that will reference the selling broker commission. But the other thing is, besides that field not being there, we are not allowed to even hint or put something kind of vague in our agent remarks or public remarks that would lead people to even think that it's negotiable. I mean, I asked some specific questions of RAIN, and they said, no, there can't be anything at all on the MLS, on RAIN, not even on any RAIN documents. It has to be, well, and we'll cover that here in a minute, but I just want to make sure you all understand that we're not allowed to do that anymore. So now, my second thing I want to mention is that if you have your own website, for instance, I know not everybody does, but if you do, you are allowed to, have your listings on your website, and you can put whatever the commission would be for the selling agent on there. You could just, one of our other brokers had mentioned that, you could put like a little banner across the top or something, advertising the SBC. So, if you want to consider doing that, that is allowed. And then I believe too, you can put it on social media if you have a Facebook page or whatever. So there are ways to do this, but some of you may have seen, it's been going on Facebook. There was I guess kind of a funny, it's sort of a meme, I guess. It was really just a photograph. Somebody did it like a drone shot of the top of a house with a yard, and somebody had mowed the number 3 into the lawn in the backyard, and took a picture of it. And so what we've also been told is you can't put anything in a photograph or in a picture that's going to go on the listing that will hint to what the SBC is. So just keep all that in mind when you're doing your listings. I believe, and I don't have, I don't think Rain has even made all the decisions yet, but I'm sure there's going to be some kind of a grace period where they're not going to fine us if there are any violations, but I don't know how long that period of time is, and I don't know what the fines will be. I will tell you this, that from what I understand in North Carolina, they're fining agents or brokers there $1,000 per violation, and then they're fining the brokerage too, another $1,000. So we all have to comply with I don't know what Rain's going to do, but I just know we have to comply. We don't have a choice. Okay. So, all right. So when you have, when you have a listing agreement and, you've met with a client and you have a listing agreement, there is a new form that Rain has come out with that does allow you to put on that form the offers of compensation. It kind of goes against what Rain said, is that can't be anywhere on any frame forms, but there is this one form, and I know it's gonna show backwards, but it's called the optional addendum to the brokerage agreement. This is what it looks like. I know it's not going to show up really good here on the Zoom, but if you look it up on Rain, you'll find it. And and so this can be an addendum to your listing agreement that your sellers will sign, so that if they are going to agree to pay an SBC, then it'll be in writing on this form. Okay.
Yeah, because basically they just removed that language from the SAER and just put it on this addendum. So that's what they did.
Yep, that's exactly what they did. So, and this form, by the way, we will add it to I believe
Yes.
our Google Drive file with all our forms, but it's also going to be in Sweet Assist probably once Wendy gets back from her vacation, because she's the expert on that. And then it's going to be a form that once you're if you have a transaction or you have a listing and you're uploading forms to Sweet Assist, there's going to be a bucket for this form. So, anyway. All right, moving on. I'm kind of excited about this. We have this Friday at 1 o'clock, we're going to do another Zoom call, but it's probably going to be kind of short. I don't think it'll go on for too long, but we're going to have our very own Tom Benevenuto, who's one of our Swell Realty agents. He's been in the business for a while, and he does some buyer sides, but he does a lot of listings. So he does a lot of role playing so that he has his all the words down that he would say, like overcoming objections, that sort of thing. And he's got some great conversations that we might be able to learn from. And he's going to share that with us on Friday at 1 o'clock. And we'll send out a link to that Zoom probably later today or tomorrow morning. So if you can participate in that too, I think it'll be really helpful. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank Tom for being willing to share that with us on Friday.
Yeah, and Tom does a bunch of FSBOs. So as you know, FSBOs, you're always having to sell yourself as the agent and justifying commission. And so as we enter these new waters, so to speak, where agents are really going to have to sell themselves more than ever, I think it'll be a good opportunity, a resource for us to, just see how he handles some of those potential objectives.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to it because I need all the help I can get with that. So, okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about the buyer side of things. And you probably know this because it's been published a lot or publicized a lot, but buyer broker agreements are now absolutely required to be signed before you even show anybody a house. That's just what the powers that be are telling us is the new law.
Yeah, and actually this has been in effect for many years, but now it is being strictly enforced. So we will then strictly enforce it. So again, even if it's you're only showing one property and you have to adjust your buyer broker accordingly, again, we are not to open a door or anything of that related matter unless a buyer representation agreement has been signed. And again, it's being strictly enforced now, but this is something that's been has been a rule and a law for many years. Okay.
Yeah, it has. And but again, Barry and I were just talking about this yesterday. I mean, if you're just showing, if somebody just calls you out of the blue and wants to see one particular house, you can just do a buyer broker just for that day and that house. They don't have to commit to you for months on end if they don't know that they want to work with you yet. But it's going to be enforced now. So keep that in mind. All right. So how do we show houses if we don't know, how are we going to find out what the SBC is going to be if there's anything being offered to the buyer side? So when you have a house, we have a client that has a list of homes they want to see, you're just going to have to call or text the listing agent to find out. And hopefully they will tell you like on a text. But I was thinking that if they've got that other form that I just showed you a few minutes ago, the optional addendum to the brokerage agreement, which will spell out what the seller is willing to pay, you could even ask them to send this to you so you have it in writing, because it will spell that out. So, and then of course, then of course you can show the house and all that, but make sure you get that buyer broker signed. One thing I wanted to mention about the buyer broker that is new because of these new rules, when you fill it, and I'm going to show you this first page, I know you're all familiar with this, but on the first page of the buyer broker, item 3, where it says buyer or buyers agree to pay the brokerage the following fees. And then A is brokerage fee. Buyer shall pay brokerage a fee of blank percentage of the final purchase price, or they can agree to pay a flat fee. So here's the thing. If you're working with a buyer that maybe they're concerned, maybe they don't have a whole lot of money because they're paying a down payment or in closing costs maybe, and and now they have to look at paying us too, so that you might not be charging. This is just a hypothetical situation. Let's say that you decide you're not going to charge them 3%, you'll charge them 2.5%. But here's the problem. If you put 2.5% on this buyer broker, and then you find out the seller's willing to pay 3%, you cannot get more than, you can't get the 3% if you've put 2.5% on the buyer broker. So my suggestion is to put the 3% on the buyer broker, and then between you and your buyer, you can decide to come down. You can negotiate down with your buyer. You can't negotiate up with the seller. That's a new rule that Rain has, and it's on, if you want to look it up, you're welcome to. It's on askrain.com, and it says, can the purchase agreement provide for a higher amount of compensation to a buyer's broker than what is agreed to in the buyer agreement? And the answer is no. And they have all the, the references to the rules on this form. So keep that in mind when you're doing your buyer broker. You don't want to leave money on the table if the seller's willing to pay. So, okay. So let's say that you have,
excuse me.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Also, with the buyer brokers, for each different swell, we have revised it. We will get those to you by end of this week. And we put some language in there that is been used similarly with other associations and our brokers that, again, just clearly spells out that the commission isn't mandated and that is fully negotiable. It's actually letter C, I believe, on page 2 of the buyer broker. So those have been amended. We've removed the VA exception because, of course, there is no VA exception moving forward. And again, we'll make sure to get those out to you by the end of this week.
Okay, thanks, Barry. All right, so let's say you've got your buyer broker sign and you're working with the buyer and you're showing them a bunch of houses and they found one they like and they want to make an offer. There should be, and I'm just gonna, for purposes of today, I'm gonna call it a cover letter. You'll want to do a cover letter that will go to the listing agent, you know, when you submit an offer to purchase, okay? And the cover letter is going to state the compensation that the selling brokerage should receive from the seller. And now, if you have found out that the seller's paying 3%, then you're going to put that 3% in the letter, but in this cover letter. But if you haven't, if you don't have that information, or maybe they're not admitting, you know, there's no reference to the seller being willing to pay, but your buyer really wants this house, so you're going to try to negotiate that, you know, buy or selling agent commission, then you want to put that in the letter. And we have a letter that we're working on. We're almost finished with it, but we're going to have a letter that you can use, that should be used kind of as it's sort of a form letter, and you'll fill in the blanks, like the address of the home for the offer and the commission you're asking for. And there will be a one for Swell Real Estate, and there will be one for Swell Realty. They'll be very similar, but we'll have the different logos and, you know, the basic information. And those should be ready by the end of this week as well, right, Barry? And one thing that we have been told, though, is you want to make sure, like, let's say that you've got a you know, offer paperwork all ready to go, and it's in a PDF file, and you've attached it to an email to the listing agent, and then you've got the cover letter filled out. What I've been told is that cover letter needs to be in a separate file, a separate PDF file attached to that email. Don't put it in the same, you know, stack of papers with your offer. So if you have everything else in one file and you cover letter in another, you'll have two attachments on that email. Okay.
Yeah, and this letter of compensation, or cover letter, however you want to refer to it, it will also be another required box or bucket that that Wendy will upload in Suite Assist, so that will be part of one of the required docs that you'll need to upload when you're processing a closing.
Yep. Oop. Where are we? Okay. Oh, I know, but I don't see. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Thought I lost you for a second. Okay. So this is really just the final thing that we're going to talk about today before we start taking questions. There are 2 videos that are on RAIN that we recommend you watch, okay? And one of them is called Breakdown of September 4th Form Changes. The second one is called RAIN's Optional Addendum to the Brokerage Agreement. And that's the form I was showing you that listing agents can have the seller sign if they're offering anything for the selling brokerage.
Julie, what's the designation of that form? Like, you know, what is it? Like DBA or whatever? I don't know. What is it called? What's the nomenclature for that or whatever?
It says
Bottom left, usually.
ABA.
ABA. Okay. Thank you.
And it's released September 4th of 2024. So that's another thing that, you know, the NAR rules go into effect on the 17th of this month. RAIN has a date of September 4th. And I think that's what was, you know, and RAIN is saying that they were able to pick a date like that because they're not a realtor organization. So they had the time to, or the extra time to get that, get everything in order. Okay. So, but yeah, this form, yeah, it says ABA, released September 4th of 2024. Anyway, so look that up, but look at those two videos because I think they'll both be helpful. Anyway, okay, is there anything else you can think of right now before we start taking questions, Barry? And hopefully we can answer the questions that you're asking. There's still so much to know, and there are some things that are still kind of in a fluid situation. So we'll do the best we can to answer questions right now. But if we have to make a note of the questions and then get back to you, we certainly will do that. Okay.
Yeah, so let's open it up for questions. I don't know if someone's raised their hand.
So let's say you call the agent to ask about the commission. They say, well, we're just going to look at the offer, and then my seller's going to decide what they want to pay as far as SBC goes, or buyer's commission goes. At that point,
what do you do? Yeah. Well, that's where that cover letter, or what did you call it, Barry? The letter of compensation comes in.
Okay.
Because and like I said a minute ago, we'll have that letter, the Swell Realty and the Swell Real Estate letters ready by the end of this week that you can download, and you'll just put what you're asking for on that letter, and then send it to the listing agent along with the offer, just in a separate PDF file.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it depends also on the context of the particular listing, because if it's been on the market for 60 days, or if you're in a multiple offer situation, then you may adjust, what you're offering accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also whatever you have with your agreement with your buyer as well, right? So I mean, depending on
yes.
Yeah.
And as Julie said, you can't go over whatever.
You can't up it.
Yeah, but I think it is moving forward. It's just, and you can have this conversation with your buyers. Three is a good number, and then if you have to work down, you work down. It's much easier to go down because you can't go up. So
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Mark Furley, what's your question? Oh,
hey Julie, and appreciate you guys, you and Barry, taking time to put this out. I've got a listing going live tomorrow. Do I need to can I use the old forms, since you said that everything changes on the 17th, or should I use the SBC off?
Excellent question. You still, as of today, you have something going on tomorrow, you said?
Yeah, it's going live tomorrow.
Yeah, so you're going to use the forms that are available now. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I did have a note that wasn't on my list of, oh, you know what? I have it on my phone. There's the forms will change September 4th. So you can use your listing, you can use your, the existing listing agreement form now. Now, there was a question, I think on our last the Zoom call we had last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, with Matt. Somebody mentioned, well, do we have to change forms once September 4th rolls around? And Rain is saying no. We will. I have a feeling there will be an addendum we'll have to do to change, to change things, but they have not released an addendum. So as of right now, use the forms that are in Rain, and then we'll move to the new forms on September 4th.
Yeah, and this is another one of those situations, and unfortunately, this is the season that we're in where it's really fluid. So as of, what is today, August 14th, everything is grandfathered in, if you will. However, I know I was talking with Anna Sershin, our broker in North Carolina, this morning, and she indicated that particular MLS, there had been an addendum sent out to sort of patch in the pre-existing to the new. So It could change, but as of today, that's what we have. But of course, if they alert us or update us with changes, then we'll notify everyone accordingly.
Somebody.
All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Oh, you're welcome. Good question. Anybody else? I think there was a message here. I don't know where to see it now.
Hey, Matt Langen, are you there still? Okay. Well, we're having trouble. If you have a question, just go ahead.
No, I'm here, Barry.
Yeah, well, can you help us coordinate who's asking?
Somebody
Yeah,
asked.
I'm looking.
Somebody asked.
That's what I'm trying to monitor right now. I'm doing
Gotcha.
my best, guys, to go through. So,
Yeah.
So let's see. So, can you guys see the chat on your end, Barry?
I thought there was something here. Now I don't see it. Oh, wait. Yeah. Hold on.
Michelle Adcock asked if the SBC's, if you can say SBC is negotiable in agent remarks. I
No,
would
You
assume,
cannot.
No.
I would
You
assume
can-
nothing can be transmitted through Rain on Rain platform with regard to commission, correct?
That is
Correct.
yes,
Because
and-
that is definitely, I'm sorry, Julie,
No,
that
go
is
ahead.
definitely a red flag, and they will flag it. There can't be any hint. There can't be any sort of backdoor or even putting a website to lead you to this place. It is just strictly forbidden. And again, I think what we all have to remember, and not to dive too far into the weeds, but this is kind of all emanating from the DOJ. So this is different than just a local realtor association trying to implement some changes. This is a totally different ball game, and that's why we have to be so vigilant and so intentional than we have been leading up to this point.
Yep. But I'm glad you mentioned that again, Tom, because that, I mean, that was in my first or second point today, but it has been made very, very clear to me that we can't have any even little hint or something vague referencing what the seller's even willing to negotiate. We have to not even mention it in the listings.
Okay, well, who else? Anyone else have questions?
So let's see. I'm going to go through these in no particular order.
Okay.
Will the contract cover sheets include all new required docs and forms?
The cover sheet.
The cover sheet is just going to be a standalone letter, basically. Go ahead.
I'm interrupting Julie.
No,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
It's really better to refer to it as a letter of compensation, although it's going to be separate, of course, from your other documents related to the offer. But I'm not sure if I fully understand the question. But as I mentioned earlier, we will sooner than later. Wendy's due to return from her out of country vacation soon. We'll get all these buckets uploaded in Suite Assist so that you guys know the required documents. And then, of course, depending on the company you're with, you can reach out to me or Julie if you have a question as to which documents are needed. Hopefully that answered the question.
To be clear, there's going to be a Rain document, if I'm understanding this right, that your seller is going to sign if they so decide to,
That's
and then there's going to be a swell document that we send over with the offer, separate in a separate file, not conjoined with our offer.
Correct. So the listing, the SAER, the standard agent exclusive right to represent, which is what 99% of us use. So basically all they did was the language that they had added in there where you had, this percentage or this flat fee, etc. They basically just removed it from that particular form. And then they put it on this separate addendum, just again, as another, I guess, measure of transparency or make sure we're checking the box. So that's for the listings. And then, like you just said, Tom, for the buyers, this letter of compensation will be submitted. And it'll just, it's signed, it's executed by the buyer, the seller, and both agents, indicating what the SBC will be.
Okay.
Well, and this form that the optional addendum to the brokerage agreement that you're referring to is optional. So not every listing, not every seller is probably going to sign one,
SBC.
So that's why the letter of compensation is really important, because if you're, obviously you need, the buyer's agent needs to get paid. So if there's any way to get it from the seller, it needs to go along with it should go with an offer, in a separate PDF.
Okay, who else?
Are the agents in Swell Realty Company in more danger of being legally sued now they are not a realtor?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I'll say this. Again, we've got our sister company on here, Swell Realty, who are not realtors, but Rain, who isn't a realtor MLS, they have opted into this sort of these changes. So we're for as far as both companies, everything is the same, as uniform. The documents are going to be the same except for the logos. And we're, as a brokerage, this is what we are requiring.
Do we anticipate Rain will wipe out the SBC from the MLS listing after this weekend?
Yes. I don't know that we've heard that specifically, but even for the existing listings, I have to believe they're just going to make everything uniform. So yeah, so again, that's a great question. We probably don't have the answer to it. Well, Julie, we could try to get the answer.
Yeah, my understand, and I don't know this 100% sure, but from what I'm reading, the Rain's changes are going to take place on September 4th. So I don't know.
4th.
Yeah.
Yep,
So I
that's
think it's going to be the September 4th date that we're going to
Yeah,
see
that's
that
right.
field wiped out, removed.
Good point.
from the
Yeah.
MLS.
So the 4th. That's right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Can we write on the buyer broker that we're asking for 3% commission, but put a note that we will negotiate down if needed?
Yeah. I'm gonna say yes. However, I'm gonna say yes, but what do you think, Barry?
Well, yeah, that's our own document. So yeah, that can be put in there, and you can actually, I guess, write in a written note if you want to do that. But that is what we've been recommending. Like Julie said, it's better to start at 3, or if you're good with 2.5, whatever that ceiling is for you, start there, and then work your way down if you need to.
In the buyer brokerage agreement, can we add the verbiage subject to SBC if needed?
Subject, I don't follow.
I'm sorry. Say that.
What does
say
that
that again,
mean?
Matt.
So yeah, it's a question, and Cindy, feel free to take yourself off mute. Question from Cindy: in the buyer brokerage agreement, can we add the verbiage, quote, subject to SBC if needed?
It kind of leaves it open-ended.
Yeah, I don't know. I think our brokers are pretty good, pretty detailed, and then with the tweaks we've made. But again, if there's anything in there that you want to write in, it's a document. It isn't necessarily graded the same as some of these other documents. So I would just say check with your me or Julie before you do it, and maybe we can get a specific context of what you're asking.
Another question here: if we have a buyer broker agreement for 3%, but seller is only willing to pay 2.5%, and we don't want to charge the buyer the other 0.5%, do we do an addendum to the buyer broker agreement?
I don't know if an addendum is needed, or you can just write on the buyer broker and you have your buyer initial it and you initial it. Because you can always negotiate with your buyer. You just can't you can always negotiate down. Like if you put 3%, you're going to accept 2.5. That is acceptable. You just can't you can't put 2.5 and try to get 3. But I don't know that I think it just can be written or typed onto the buyer broker with an initial.
Now, the form that we're sending over, the swell proprietary form that deals with the commission, we're also going to submit that to title company, correct? So, because they're going to see,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Yep.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say to answer the question, some of these modifications for the buyer broker, you just check with your broker before you do it, just to make sure. Because we got a kind of a boilerplate broker. We tried to address different scenarios, but if there's one that hasn't been addressed, then it can certainly be more than likely can be modified appropriately to meet the need. Just check with one of us.
Are we allowed to ask our buyers at the beginning what commission they are willing, able to pay before we start making phone calls to listing agents? So we can decide to make an appointment at the time of the phone call.
Well, yeah, of course. I think that's something again where the challenge comes in. Just thinking off the top of my head, if you're like dealing with a Zillow lead or something and you don't know the buyer, that's where again, because moving forward, the buyer broker is going to have to be executed by both agent and buyer before showing a home. So those are conversations you're going to have, because it is going to have to be laid out earlier maybe than what some of you are used to doing.
Got another question here. After negotiating, are buyers agents allowed to be paid a commission by both seller and buyer?
You mean like dual agency?
And that,
What do they mean?
I
No,
think,
no, like if your buyer client's gonna make up the difference, is that what it is? Making up the difference?
that's what I assumed that question meant.
Yes.
And I believe, you can have that.
So no, like 2% from seller and 1% from buyer.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's
can
laid
negotiate
out.
that.
That's laid out in the buyer broker where it states that you're collecting X percentage, and then if it isn't collected from the seller or the listing firm, then it directs you to collect it from the specifically from the buyer. So yeah, it's already in our swell buyer representation agreement.
Whatever the short is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got another question here as pertaining to the listing agreement. I've seen listing agents state that seller to pay X percentage commission to listing agent, and if buyer comes unrepresented, seller pays listing agent additional blank fee. Is this a thing?
Yeah, yes. And I think that is something that if you're a listing agent, you negotiate that with your seller, your potential seller client, that if they, here's the commission I want if I'm just representing you, but if I'm going to also represent a buyer, then this is the amount that I'm asking for. So that's a negotiation between a listing agent and a seller.
That's in 2A4 in the brokerage agreement that addresses that.
Yeah, so for listing, I was looking at the new addendum to the brokerage agreement. I don't see where that is specifically referenced, but again, that's something, yeah, that you can when you're talking or negotiating with your seller, that you can write that into the your SAER.
I think here's what he's talking about. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. The on one offer of compensation. So this first box is if you're purchase agreement.
Yeah, but this is for dual agency.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the SAER, July 1st, 2024. Page 2, 2A4.
Okay. I don't have it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me, but remember those forms there's likely updated.
Yeah, but
By September 4th.
yeah, and if that isn't still included, then Ray, of course, you can write that in.
Okay. Any other
Ray, I don't know if I was scrolling through here. I don't know if this got addressed earlier or answered your question. Can you say in agent remarks to check this listing on eaglelistings.com for more details?
No.
No redirects.
Yep. So yeah, there's gonna be more heavy lifting, if you will, for the listing agent. You're gonna have to take text and phone calls and discuss compensation unless you come up with a way that some agents are doing, where they on their personal websites where they're able to advertise whatever their SBC is, but you cannot have any mention of your personal website or any, like Tom just said, any redirects to let people know what if indeed there is going to be SBC or no SBC with that particular listing.
James is out there and he just had this question. I'm not exactly sure how to answer it.
Matt, anybody else out there?
That's it for the mess. Oh, hold on. We got something from Nadine. Have you heard what EXP is planning on when they do their listing appointments? Can you explain it to us? I'm not sure of that one, but Barry or Julie, do you guys have any info into what they're exactly doing?
I have not heard.
I'm not sure the context of the question. Again, maybe whoever that asked us can email us. I'm not really sure.
That was referenced on Inman today, I believe.
Okay.
The XP forms.
Okay.
Barry, it's Melanie. I have just two quick questions.
Okay.
Is the company going to do something on our website to be promoting those SBCs, or is it just going to stay how it is now?
It's going to stay how it is.
Okay. And secondly, what time is the meeting or supposed to be on Friday that Tom's doing?
1
Do we
o'clock.
know?
1
Okay,
o'clock,
thank you.
Melanie. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we list the commission being offered on a highlight sheet that we leave in the home?
That's a great question.
It is.
I believe
That's a heck of a question.
Well, it's not in rain. It's not in rain, so it has nothing to do with rain.
So we'll try to get an answer on that, Julie, if you can.
I'm pretty sure you can, but don't take a picture of it and put it in one of your pictures on the list.
Yeah, do me, whoever asked that question, email Julie at sellwithswell.com, and then she'll research that.
Looks like that's it for the chat, unless anybody else has any questions they want to throw in the chat.
I have a lot of them.
Can we do it? Yeah.
So do we?
Hey, I've got something too when y'all are ready, Sam.
Okay, go ahead, Ann.
Hey, just a point with that question regarding, can we leave something printed up or can we take a dry erase marker, write it on the bathroom window? Here's the thing. Don't forget that agents are going to be showing they're going to be handling virtual tours. Now, that could get into a gray area, right? If I don't know, man, Julie, when you're doing your research on that one, I would certainly make sure that we couldn't get in trouble if it's actually in the home and that an agent is showing their client, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and I think that's a heck of a point. And listen, guys, we're all in this together, but here's the thing: we need to err on the side of caution.
Yep.
Okay, because pushing the envelope, I'm not paying. We're not paying fines for agents that push the envelope. Okay.
And can I preface? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take over. But I think the other thing that's absolutely key here is we have, per what I'm getting from North Carolina, and then the research I've done too. This is all coming from DOJ. DOJ apparently has this set in stone for 7 years. Now, if another president were to take over, could they repeal it? Who knows? But moving forward, we have to act as this is going to be the way it is for the next 7 years, and we have got to be extremely, extremely careful. So always on the side of caution. And here was the scenario brought up today earlier. So you have I have a buyer, and the buyer agency was signed. Great. So I'm going to do a virtual FaceTime, but my reception, of course, knowing my phone, is poor. So then I'm going to actually no, take that back. I haven't gotten anything signed as of yet, or I have an unrepresented party signed. So you got to be really careful with the language that you're using if you've got an unrepresented party, right? So then I go in to do a FaceTime. Because the language that they're using in North Carolina, and I don't know if it's national or not, that agency agreement has to be done whether it's unrepresented party or buyer broker, for all showings. Period. So if I go in and I'm going to FaceTime somebody and have poor reception, then I just take video footage. Is that considered a virtual tour? Well, it's arguable. It's in a gray area. So you always want to have that daggone document signed no matter what.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And if mommy wants to come view the property later, we're just going down rabbit holes. So my suggestion is print out a bunch of them, leave them, in your car.
Yeah. And listen, again, there's got to be some grace with this, but we just, and again, the rain stuff's going into effect September 4, NAR's August 17th. I mean, we really need to start just next week, operating as if it is the 4th. Okay. And then the second thing is that there's going to be stuff that it changes. It'll change maybe even before the 4th or after the 4th. We're going to have to continue to be vigilant, and we're going to continue to be proactive. One thing that we believe as a company is we want to be proactive, but we also want to be measured in our response, because we don't want to just kind of willy-nilly stuff. We want to make sure that we research it and we have the answers. And if someone asks us a question, of course, that we get that information to you. So again, I would just implore all of you agents and those that listen to this from the recording, if there's ever a question of whether you should do it, check with me, check with Julie, check with one of our brokers before you do it. Because again, we're not trying to make people anxious about this. Change always causes anxiety. I get it. But we just have to continue to work through this. At the end of the day, listen, we're still selling homes, right? We're still meeting with sellers. We're still meeting with buyers. It's changed a little bit, okay? And I really believe that once we kind of get into a groove, we'll, a year from now, Lord willing, we'll look back at this and we won't have any anxiousness to it. But right now, I get it. And there's a lot of questions. Hopefully we answered some of those today. Also, Matt, I don't know if you could do this, but make sure everyone has my email, make sure everyone has Julie's email, and please, if y'all think of something later, email us, okay? And it's something that might be good for the group or for the companies to know. Again, we want to continue to be a source of information and hopefully a tool to kind of limit, if you will, your anxiety, okay?
Hey, Barry, it's Melanie again. In listening to what Ann was saying, is there any, I had seen something about open houses and clients coming in and viewing properties. So how are we supposed to handle that? Because that's technically us showing them a home.
Yeah,
that's different than a client. And how are they handling that in North Carolina? Do you know?
It's the same. It's the same. You have in a perfect world, of course, we want everyone to sign in. And always asking, of course, do you have a buyer broker, or do you have an agency representation? But here's the thing, and just to underscore one more time, I don't know about all of you guys. I'm not really great at taking precise notes, because I think I'm going to remember all of my little scrabble and what my thought was, 2 weeks down the road. Now more than ever, we need to make sure that we are taking thorough notes. And if you, even just a suggestion, I don't know about y'all, but I'll talk to myself probably better than anybody else does. So, I'm going to try my best to implement recording voice memos when the thought comes into my mind onto my phone, because, as we're going through all these weeds and trying to navigate through all this stuff, as Barry said, things are going to change. I mean, that's definitely going to happen. And God forbid something happen, you get these sue happy people, and 2 years down the road, you're expected to remember something that went down and you're not going to be able to. So as realtors, and agents, what have you, we are separately and then collectively obligated, to our records. So again, we're going back to the 1950s, write everything down. That's all I can say.
Yeah, Melanie,
Or
to
re-
answer
report
your
it.
question, that was great information, and thank you. But we'll
Right.
we will look into the open house question, try to
Yeah.
get a definitive answer.
Hey,
for you.
Barry, to my knowledge, Rain's attorney did come out and say that open houses are fine as long as you're
Mhm.
not creating the agency relationship and giving advice.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll double, thank you, Madison. We'll
Thank
double
you,
check
yeah.
just to make sure, but that's kind of what I thought they would do, but I just want to be sure, so.
I have a question real quick, and this might be something that Tom might address tomorrow if he's going over listings and such, but I just went to a
Friday,
listing.
actually.
Oh,
Friday.
on Friday, I'm sorry. But like normally what I do is I meet with a client and I, run the comps, we sit down, I run a net sheet for them. And I just basically, let them know that this is my fee. Are we now supposed to say, well, normally I charge 6%, but that's negotiable? I feel like we're going to set ourselves up for failure right away. I mean, what am I allowed to say on these? I mean, how is the listing people approaching this?
I think that is probably something that Tom, I know I'm throwing Tom under the bus here, probably Tom could address on Friday.
Okay.
But again, again, like what we've been doing for the previous few months, the commission is really, it's been separated from, this is what the seller is paying the listing agent, and then this is what the seller is paying the buyer's agent. So again, if you're asking for 6%, then it's not necessarily you sharing it, because we're not doing that anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and to everybody, I'm going to share, what I'm doing, and that can change as well as I do more of this. But the way I'm looking at it is 6%. We're not talking about 6% anymore. We're talking about 3%, and we're talking about your seller they need to in a short order. No, I would be prepared to give them a short rundown on. Don't go down a rabbit hole, but at least explain, that we can no longer offer that in the MLS buyer's agent commission, and then find out from them, are they willing to pay a commission? If so, how much?
Yeah, and I know again this will be talked more about on Friday, but I still believe listing agents, because again, there is a value obviously for having a buyer's agent on the other end, and we know that because we're going to be on the other end at some point. But it's the way I say it, it's like investing in improving your bathroom or your kitchen. If you have another agent on the other end that is buttoned up and can get the deal to the table, it's going to be worth the money. You have to kind of view it as an investment in selling your home. So anyway, we're not going to go into a rabbit trail on that. That'll be covered more on Friday. Does anyone else have anything in regards to NAR changes? Anything else?
Yeah, that's funny. So
Somebody's raising their hand. I can't really see who.
What about current listings? Do we take out the SBC or will it automatically?
It will be automatic, I believe, on the 4th of September. Rain will do that.
All right. Well, I think that's it.
Fred.
That's it for the
Fred,
chat.
you raising your hand? I can't see. Fred, go ahead. Fred, you got a question?
Oh, hey, how you guys doing?
There you go.
What the heck?
Nice, man. That's what I was talking about at the beginning of the Zoom. I didn't bring my mask.
I was wondering what you were referencing, Tom, but now Fred makes it very clear.
This is my bird flu mask.
Bird flu mask.
Hey, so Barry and Julie, I just wanted to tell you guys, or let you guys know that I spoke to my real estate attorney, and because we have a team license and we're non-realtors, that I have a compensation form that's written up for
Everyone's like,
yeah. So I can send that in a separate PDF. But
yes,
if the seller has already signed an ABA, then it could trump my form.
Oh, yeah,
But
you're,
I have one that's already written up for Goal Team VA, and it actually takes the liability off as well.
Well, we can certainly talk about that offline. Okay. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Fred. But we'll
Yeah.
let's discuss it offline.
All right, thanks.
but
Yeah.
I would just add that I agree. I mean, I agree with you. If you do an offer, a compensation
Form.
letter, that doesn't mean that's what you're getting. That's just a request. This is what I would like to be able to do this transaction.
And
But
again,
if-
that was only brought up because in case you don't want to have that discussion with the other agent, you just want to let them know you're sending an offer, you're legally allowed to send a separate PDF with the I mean, it's been vetted by my attorney, so there's no non-legalese, but it's a compensation form that I can send with the offer separately. And they can either agree to it, and the seller has to sign this form. And this has to be sent to the closing company, and that's how they'll be able to put it on the Alta.
Yeah.
However, they can negotiate right on the compensation form that I have, or they can send an ABA. That I think you guys were talking about earlier. That's going to be a form that's going to be available September 4th on RAIN.
Yep. Awesome.
All right, cool, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
seeing you.
One other thing I just want to mention in case in case any of you don't know this, if you go on RAIN and go on Ask RAIN, the Ask RAIN tab at the top, you know, you can put in a question, and if it recognizes what you're talking about, it might bring up an answer to, it's not going to answer everything, but it also has some frequently asked questions on there that might help you if you have any questions. But of course, you please reach out to me or to Barry, you know, if you have some specific questions, because that's what we're here for. Okay.
All right, I think that's it. Matt, do you see any other hands up?
No.
Okay,
Yep,
good deal.
Yep.
All right, so Matt, you'll be I guess you'll be sending this link out.
Yeah, guys. So this was all recorded. Once this gets loaded to our library, we'll have the office email it out to everybody.
Perfect.
Okay, good
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yep, thank you. And we will be sending an email out with the Zoom link for Tom and Julie's Zoom session 1 p.m. this Friday. Okay, see you there.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Barry.
Yep.
Thank you.